Okay, this is working. All right. Just do that. Okay. Yeah, that was a pain in the ass. Okay. How's the mic working? Give me a sec. We're just setting some stuff up. Okay. I want to make sure this is set up and there's no issues before we move forward. Okay. All right. Is everything sound good? Look good? Hello, Killbling. You don't hear a jet engine. Do you hear me though? Because if you do, then this is a success. Okay, sick. So the new microphone is working. All the cameras look good. Got our work area. Couple of knife handles to work on. We might be doing some leatherworking a little later on. Haven't completely decided that yet, but we'll see when we get there. Okay. Okay. So these are two clip point hunters that I made a little while ago. And what we're going to be doing for these today is kind of making their handle or the handles for both of them. So I'm going to kind of go a little more in depth than I usually do in my videos on like handle construction, how it works. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to get super upset with having to bend down every 5 seconds, so let's do that. Oh shit, Devil Dog. Good to see you, man. All right. So, typically when I'm working on handles, and this is kind of like the easiest way I think of doing handles. Personally, I think like hidden tang and all that's a little harder, but just doing scales and doing a full tang is probably, if you're a beginner, where you really want to start and then move on from there. It's one of those things because I've seen some absolutely abysmal through tangs, and they could have just made it a full tang. Little tip, if you're going to be working on multiple knives at the same time with different handle scales and stuff, mark them. I didn't do that 2 years ago for one of my projects, and that was probably one of the worst things ever because I ended up having to scrap a bunch of handle pieces because I couldn't figure out which one went to which. And the holes that I drill are not set up to be like exact. They're like different for every knife. So if you don't have the right handle scales, they don't work. Deer antler. Really? What was wrong with it? I kind of already know, but like, what was your issue with the deer antler? Because I know my issue with antler, and it's probably not the same thing everyone thinks. Drilling the hole and fitting the tang down in there. Yeah, for that one, that can be an issue. I mean, especially because like deer antler is kind of like an irregular shape, so it's a little more difficult to kind of like, oh, it's gonna perfectly be right here, so I'm gonna be able to do that. I would probably cheat a little bit and just go with like a shorter tang. That way you kind of know exactly where it is. But the reason I don't work with antler, and I don't know if you had this issue, when you sand it or any of that stuff, and this is kind of bone in general, it smells like absolute ass. Okay, so we're going to be using this Gorilla Glue epoxy. It's supposed to set fast. Never believe it when it says sets in 5 minutes. If you're going to do it, let your handle cure for like 12 to 24 hours. Yeah, epoxy is like what is that old the old joke about like being a good welder because you have like a sander and spray paint? Epoxy is that for when we mess up handles. Still drinking it. Dude, I will fight you, Link. I will fight you. At least I'm drinking water, okay? Alright, so we've got that. Sorry, someone came in and reorganized my entire garage. So now I'm kind of trying to figure some stuff out. Hmm. Ooh. Perfect. Usually I'll just keep like pieces of cardboard for this, but oh, also gloves. When you're working with epoxy, I've seen people also use like JB Weld and a bunch of other stuff. Just use gloves. If it hardens on your hands, it's gonna suck ass. Dude, I'm not drinking a gallon of like shitty tap water or like whatever crap you're drinking, dude. Okay, so make sure that you have the proper piece lined up. And then on the opposite side, what we're going to do is countersink these holes, because what we're using are going to be Corby bolts. For the people who've never seen these, this is what they do. There's one side with a shaft and one side with a little screw, and they just kind of fit in. The handle will be in between, and then they pinch everything together. So if you've ever seen like the YouTube videos where people are doing like handle clamps and there's fucking clamps everywhere while they're trying to glue up or epoxy together their handle, these kind of take that out of the equation. You don't really need them if you do this part correctly. So for a knife maker, these are pretty sweet. And then since they have little like things for little notches for like a screwdriver, you can just sand all that off, and then you're never taking that handle apart until you actually have to like completely disassemble the handle. Like you'd pretty much have to sand them off or use like a tap and die. Yeah, it's bottled and it tastes like shit, okay? Like, I don't know what you want from me. Okay. So, let me bring you guys over here for just a second so you can kind of see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. You guys should be able to see that pretty well. So, I swear, if people don't stop unplugging stuff. There we go. Okay. So I already know that this is the drill bit I want, but what you're going to want to do when you're using like the Corby bolts, there we go. What you're going to want to do is kind of match the diameter of both the outside piece and that little and the little inside shank with two different drill bits. And that's so that like the longer, thicker portion actually sinks down in and pinches the wood together. Otherwise, whenever you go to sand the handle, you're just going to sand it all the way down until there's nothing there, and then it's just going to break apart. At that point, you might as well just use a pin. But I already know that that one is the one that I want because I set it up that way. So, and all you're doing with this is very gently going down in. I should probably be using some clamps. I should absolutely be using some clamps because the issue that I always run into here is what'll happen is that the piece will get caught by the actual bit, and then it'll just tear the whole thing up and it'll drill right through. So these are like the shittiest clamps I have. There, hopefully that works. and then go really slowly. Two reasons. First of all, you need to actually get the depth that you want right. But second of all, if you go really fast, you increase the chance of it just like trying to drill all the way through, like I was talking about earlier. Okay. So that one's good. And then we do the other one. Now, the amount that you drill in should be based on the handle material you're using. So for this one, I drilled probably less than halfway, but that's because the metal that I'm going to be connecting this with is actually um, kind of thin, not really, but it's thin enough so that it won't really matter. $1 million, I don't know what that means. Okay. And then just kind of like constantly be fit testing everything, because redoing, and you'll know it fits because it slides in like that. Because redoing one handle scale is fine. Having to redo an entire handle sucks. So it fits in there. And then you can kind of take the other piece. You're going to need to do the drill for those. Wait, does that? Okay. Oh, yeah, I doubt you have $1 million to give me. However, if that's the case, we'll definitely take it. Okay. So I'm going to attempt to do this next one free-handed, but it's probably a bad idea. Let's see if this one works better, actually. It does not. Put that right back to where it was. All right, let's see. Fuck. Okay, so perfect example of what I was just talking about. Drilled entirely through because I tried to freehand it. That's why you always use clamps. So you have two choices once you do this. You can either fudge it a little bit and kind of like we were saying earlier, fill it in with epoxy, because as long as the other side is done properly, you still have somewhat of a mechanical connection there. The other option is just to redo the scale entirely. I think I'll probably just redo the scale. I mean, honestly, it's not that big a deal. Actually, What do you guys think about making two different colors for the sides, like oak and whatever this is? Other way around. I mean, where would said third webcam go in this little setup? That is what I'm asking. Although I guess it could go over here where there's just my computer. God damn, it's hot in here. Behind me? Explain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like where in the screen setup would a third camera go? Because I mean, I could easily put one that just stays stationary right there if that's what y'all want. If y'all think that would be easier. I mean, I'm kind of open to suggestions right now, just because like you know it's a little bit different working in the shop. We've kind of changed a few things, so not like opposed to any ideas at the moment. There we go. And just like that, you've got a new handle scale. Then all we do is set that down there and then line up the holes, because like I said, each of these has to be made to fit the knife because of the way that I do my stuff. None of it's like measured, so each one is unique. I swear I'm gonna kill the person that keeps moving my drill bits. Hmm. I'll have to look into the transitions. Yeah. Looking blade from what I can see. Oh yeah, so those have already been through like the polishing process, going through all of that. Those are actually almost ready. I just need to add the handles tonight and then final cleanup, and that's about it. Alright, let's see. I guess you guys will get to see me do this actually. So, the way that I do this, it's pretty simple. all you gotta do is take that off, and then you're gonna take one side. So if you're trying to figure out what drill bit you need for this, you just match it up. Clearly that's too big. And same for this. So I want this to be a tad bit bigger than that inner one, but it definitely needs to be smaller than this one. And this one fits the bill, so we're gonna use this one. Yeah, I'm starting to think you're right. It's gonna be a pain in the ass to keep transitioning this back and forth. There we go. Now for this one, freehanding it doesn't really matter because even if you drill all the way through, this hole needs to go all the way through. So it's really just about lining it up properly. So that's one. That's two. And then before you do anything else, just come on back, line up the two holes, and make sure that they are, in fact, going to work for this. They do, so you can go to the back side, change these, we'll go back to our other bit we were using. And then we'll actually clamp this down like we should have done, like intelligent people. Can you all see what I'm doing over here? Or do I need to change this a little bit? A GoPro on my chest. That sound just getting webcam set up was a nightmare. I don't know even how I would start to do that. All right. All right. There we go. That worked pretty well, actually. So, I don't know if I can actually get it on this camera, but what you should see is that little double hole there where there's like a lip inside of there. So there should be like the bigger hole and then the smaller hole in the center, and that's what you want. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am supremely thrown off by like the reorganization in this shop. Oh, I know. There we go. Okay, now back to what we were doing. So, like I said earlier, always go through, make sure everything fits. Corby bolt fits. We've already got the one on the other side. So now all we have to do is line everything up. And then we lose the Corby bolt. This is going to be further towards the bottom. Okay. Shit. Okay. So this also sometimes happens. I didn't go ahead and drill through far enough. And essentially all that means is that like I chose handle material that's super thick, and since both sides were super thick, I didn't actually measure how deep I needed to set the Corby bolt in. And if you don't do that, it won't get to the other side and there's no actual connection. So once you get it in there, you go get a screwdriver and you just connect them like a screw or like a bolt. Okay, see? And then you have a really strong connection there. You can do both sides even harder if you really want to. It's up to you. I don't really see a necessity to do that until you're actually ready to glue everything up. The other cool thing is you can just move that to the side. Okay. So the issue that we run into, I don't know which one of these cameras is better, but you might have better light there. We're like a millimeter off, so we're gonna have to fix that hole. Need some pliers. While I'm working on this, do you guys have any actual questions? Anything y'all want me to talk about? That one is? Interesting. What's the meaning of life? I mean, I could just make up any answer to that question, to be totally honest. What are you gonna do? Prove me wrong? You're right. I do not recommend what I'm about to do. What I'm about to do is actually kind of stupid and could ruin this entire project. But I'm going to anyway. So basically what I did was I just kind of freehanded that to widen the area that thing goes into. And like I said earlier, it would have been really easy to mess that up. So I don't recommend it. But let's see if it worked. Bam. You don't, okay. The meaning of life is to leave the world in some way better than you found it. Is that sufficiently vague to satisfy you? I said leave it better than you found it, not worse. So there we go. I was about to lose my mind. That is my biggest gripe with Corby bolts, is they are very easy to lose. There we go. Probably should never point the knife at yourself, even if you're bracing it, but do as I say, not as I do. There we go. Okay, so handles on. This is kind of the last shaping that we're gonna, or this is entering the shaping portion. So we immediately notice this is a little too high, so we need to mark that so we can take it off. We also notice that we don't need any of that all the way down. So probably take all of that off. And then there's some in here area, but for that I'll probably just use the flap disc and just clean all that up. But this I'm gonna, what do you want to see? You want to see me use the flap disc just to do the whole thing, or you want me to actually like go through like a respectable person and cut it with a saw? Flap disc it is. All right, so I apologize if this is like super loud and annoying. I don't know what it's gonna sound like through this mic yet, but yeah, let's have some fun. There we go. How's that looking? You guys can see that. But I need to be over here, so. There we go. Yep, it's working. How is the volume for that? I can't tell if that's the smoke from the cigar or the smoke from the wood. Yeah. We're making decent progress. A little bit of both. Yeah. Hey, Jay, is the audio when that thing's on okay? Like, are y'all hearing it? Or audio is perfect? Okay, sick. Yeah, I was kind of wondering how well this mic would actually stop like really loud, annoying shop sounds. And it sounds like it's doing a really good job, so really can't ask for more than that. I wonder if you guys can actually still hear me well while I'm doing this, though. Because if so, that's a lot better than I expected. Yeah. I wonder if I can get this at a better angle for you guys. How's that? Okay, let's give that one a shot. Let's see. Really? Dude, awesome. Love it. I was super worried about whether or not all these other sounds would actually drown out the audio, but if it's not, that's better than I had expected, honestly. Alright, we're getting close. I mean, maybe at the end of the stream, I'll fire it up just so you guys can hear it and see if it actually sounds like it. My only issue is that I think it might take something away from the hammering, but that might be loud enough that you guys can actually hear it. I don't know though. We'll have to see. How's the angle for the camera now? Is that a better angle for you guys to see what's going on? Test them all. I mean, I could always fire up the, I might actually be able to do that. If this thing works that well. It's a little close, but it works. Okay. I have an idea that we'll test in a bit. Okay. Generally pretty good on that. Yeah. So, like I was saying, this is not like the method to use. It's a method, and if you are, you got to be really careful because once you start seeing sparks, that means you're starting to dig into your metal. So that's probably not a good thing. Let's put that on this side. Yeah, I need like 12 cameras in this place. Just changing all the shots all the time. Actually, let's test that other thing now. I have an idea. So, the brilliant idea I came up with. I'm going to clip this into my respirator so that I can use the belt sander. And if it works, you guys should be able to hear me while I'm sanding. Or I'm an idiot. One or the other. Yeah, well, cigar smoke or wood smoke, we'll never know.
Okay, how does that sound? Does it sound like I'm talking normally? Maybe a little more echoey? Too loud. How about now? Is this better or worse? A little better? So it probably needs to be down a little more. Well, I mean, it is a respirator. I just don't like grinding into metal while not wearing one. It's probably one of the less good ideas you could possibly have. So the only issue now is that we're going to be doing some stuff on that. No, we need a different idea. Okay. Well, technically, hold on. Ah,
Yeah, I'm super not interested in wearing this thing anyway because it's hot as shit here. Try talking to it with your shirt while grinding. I mean, that is true. You guys might not actually be able to hear any of it, which is, if that's true, that's good. I just can't get too comfortable grinding without a mask on because that's, I mean, this is just wood, so it's not really that big a deal. But grinding metal, that's a no-go. All right, let's see. So I'm hoping that, like the last one, you guys can hear me more than you can hear this grinder. Hang on one second. I want a thicker glove while I'm doing this. So, are you guys actually getting the sound of this, or are you getting the sound of my voice? Look at that. See, this thing is actually way easier to use. Just need you back to where you're. Oh. Bam! How's that? In your face. Let's see. Turn yourself back up. Yeah. So the other issue with being over here is I really can't see if you guys are telling me anything, but if you have any questions, just put them down there and I'll answer them as I go. I think honestly, when I'm making videos, this is probably one of the most pain in the ass areas to actually film, and it's just because of where everything is and trying to get shots of this thing. The other thing to remember is if you're doing prolonged grinding, when you're hitting the metal part, the whole metal will heat up. So just remember when you're doing that, this part can get pretty hot, especially if you come into contact with a Corby bolt, because that's metal too and it'll transfer heat. But this is wood mostly, so we should be okay. Okay, so we're getting close to the metal on this, and because this knife actually has like a rounded back on the spine of the knife to make it like smoother and more comfortable in the hand, I want to be very careful that I don't get too close. So I'll show you guys a different technique I use if I'm gonna have something like that happen. But we'll move on to the rest of this for now. So we've already taken off quite a bit, and you can kind of get an idea of what this handle is going to look like. We're going to round off a lot of this stuff, but I do kind of like the whole different color on each side thing. Reminds me of ice cream. What is this? Wait, hold on. We need. That would be sick. I have no idea how much that pair of glasses would cost, though. I'm sure they have something like that. Like, what was that fucking glass? The glasses Google made that like used to have like you could search the internet or something in them. So if you're wondering what this is, it's for cleaning like sandpaper or grip tape and stuff. It kind of just expands the life of the belt, especially when you're using wood on belts like this. It tends to like just gum everything up really like fast. So kind of a necessity if you really want to get like good life out of your belt. Hmm. So the issue that I'm having right now is that ooh, fuck. Okay, the exact thing I said earlier. That. All right. Okay. Cool. So So now we have everything kind of evened out. We're still going to need to cut this little bit off right here, but we can do that once we take the handle off. There we go. Okay, so T-Mobile has glasses called Meta or something like that. Yeah, sounds lame. If it doesn't look like a Dragon Ball Z Scouter, I don't want it. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and take this off so we can cut this other piece, and then everything will be pretty much evened out. We can then do the gluing, and then I'm going to let the glue sit for a little bit. I might go back and shape everything tonight, but really all that is going back over there, and instead of using the flat part of the grinding belt, what you do is you use like the part in the belt where there's slack and there's nothing behind it. You can use that to kind of like make the belt bow a little bit, and it'll give you more rounded edges. Fun little thing. Go. That off my face. There we go. Bam. And then you just make this look exactly like the other side. So all I'm doing right now is like taking a hacksaw to that bigger portion, and then I'm gonna finish everything else up on the grinder. Actually, since that wants to be a pain in the ass right now, we'll just go straight back to the grinder. There we go. Perfect. I mean, all it would really be is like a heads up display on a piece of glass. Like I honestly, with like the tech we have nowadays, I don't even think it would be that hard to make. Not like really. I think it's a matter of there hasn't been someone that's motivated enough yet to make a real scouter. Okay. So now we get to the messy bit. And this is why we have the gloves. So epoxy is definitely not something you want to get on your hands. It's kind of like if super glue is bad, it's a little worse because like most epoxies also heat up a lot. So it's like hot and sticking your hand to everything. Let's see. And we'll be doing another forging stream this Saturday. So if you're interested in checking that out, that'll also be there. So take some kind of surface, this, just because you really don't want to put this stuff on like any surface you actually care about. I'm sure all of you can tell by like the burns and stuff on my shop table. I probably don't care about that as much as probably ought to. Then you take it, swirl it around. I usually do it until the whole thing turns into this like milky color. That usually is enough to like have mixed it pretty well. And then you can either apply it to the blade itself or you can apply it to the handle scales. It really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that you get really even coverage because this is going to be holding everything together. So typically I would wrap the handle like I do over there, but I was doing something else with this today, so put that in there. One of these. Ah, fuck. Turn it over, do the other side. You do want to move a little bit quickly with epoxy because, like I said, it says it sets in 5 minutes. I do not believe that, but it will start to harden. So you don't have all the time in the world, but you do have a little bit of time. Okay. Once you get everything set, there's a reason, by the way, this one's completely covered in epoxy. Just screw the whole thing together. Stab yourself in the hand a little bit. Don't actually do that. Now, the thing to remember is, like, you want to do any kind of like rough shaping before you do this. And the reason for that is that epoxies typically don't deal with like high heat very well once they've hardened. And they'll actually break down with high enough heat. So if you end up like kind of messing that up, or like if you heat something up too much because maybe you needed to grind the metal a little more than you thought you did, you can very easily basically destroy the bond for the epoxy. So you definitely want to avoid that. All right. So now what I'll do is I'll just check it, make sure that, you know, there's like no gaps along the edge. Everything looks pretty good. There should be a little bit of epoxy coming out everywhere. And that's fine because when we go back and we do the final smoothing out and shaping for the handle, we're going to get rid of all that stuff. So it's not going to matter. After that, though, just make sure there's none on your actual blade because that would look pretty terrible. If you do get some on there and it's like hard to get off, I always recommend using something like white vinegar, just because like white vinegar can, like, early on, once it hardens you're screwed, okay? But early on, white vinegar can help you like clean up some of the gooey stuff that's on your blade. But yeah, just clean all the excess off. And the first one's good to go. Then we just do the final shaping. However you do that, I do it on that same grinder. But yeah, there you go. Handle number 1 pretty much done. Okay, so any questions while I take a short break? Let's see, do we have enough time for handle number 2? Probably not. But at least we got some good info. Now I know that you guys can actually hear me when I'm working in the shop, so that'll make things easier in the future. Because for a little bit there, I was trying to like work around the idea that a lot, like the louder things in the shop, y'all wouldn't be able to hear me over. But that's very clearly not the case, so. That kind of opens a whole realm of possibilities for us. I'm going to lose my mind. We get a raw to finish stream. Okay, so a raw to finish stream. You mean like forge out the blade in the morning, work on it throughout the day, temper, harden, all that stuff? Because that would be like an 8 to 10 hour stream. Which is not to say that I'm not potentially down for that. What it is to say is anyone going to watch a stream that long? Okay. It would have to be a weekend, and I would basically have to start at like 8 in the morning on like a Saturday, and it would probably go through the entire thing. It won't be this week, or rather this weekend, but if there's enough people who actually want to see like from start to finish live stream, forge out the whole knife, from the forge to the grinder to the handle, everything else, let me know if that interests you. And if there's enough interest in it, then I mean, I'll definitely do one. Um, I'd have to decide what kind of knife to do though. Hmm. Couldn't be anything too big. Okay, what are your ideas for knives that we should do that with? We are not doing a scimitar. To do a scimitar from start to finish by hand would take days, possibly longer, maybe even into like a week. Like if I was doing it by hand, it would actually take weeks because I'm not gonna stand there for 8 hours a day hammering on one sword. Like that's just not gonna happen. 120. You only want that to happen because you want to get the sword afterwards. 128 hour, jeez. What is that? Is that like 4 days? No. 5 days? Fuck no. That would be awful. Actually, I think that would be 5 days and 8 hours, wouldn't it be? Am I wrong? Someone check my math. But the good thing is, and by the way, we were supposed to start at 7 tonight, but technical difficulties. Is that camera? Oh, this one was having trouble focusing. Okay. But yeah, so we'll probably start around 7 on Wednesdays when we do this. And then probably I'm thinking about starting around 9 on Saturdays when I do them. It's not going to be an every Saturday thing. Sometimes I'm going to the lake. Fight me. But yeah, I think we're going to call it for this project right now. If there are any questions, just throw them out there. It can be about anything. It doesn't technically have to be about handles specifically. By the way, you thought it was overkill. I got another one. Okay. Well, specifically, do you have any questions about what we went over, or questions you can actually ask because you have the baby? But tonight, what we went over, I'll just kind of recap a little bit of this, just so everyone kind of understands. Is that better? Yeah, actually it is. Okay, so just so everyone's on the same page of what we did tonight, we went ahead and made the scales that were part of a full tang knife handle. We used Corby bolts. We countersunk them so that they wedged nice and tight in there, and we held everything chemically together with epoxy. The mechanical connection is done by the Corby bolts. And it would have been a lot faster, but obviously, like, this is the first time I'm really doing this kind of thing, so I'm still figuring that, like, logistical piece of how to do these cameras out. If y'all think a third camera, maybe like another, I mean, you can't see what I'm doing, but like another camera below this camera, sorry, this camera, like something below that, and then just have this area right here being for the project itself. I mean, I guess the easiest knife from start to finish would probably be a through tang, even though I just said like through tangs have their problems. I could just make like a little dagger. That might work. I'll think about which design I want to do in one day. But I mean, it's still going to be like an 8-hour stream. Let's see. Any upcoming projects? Oh yeah, I didn't get to the leather work. If leather work is also something you guys want to see me do, let me know, because I can definitely add that in here too. If you had to have one African, oh my God. I asked you for a question and you give me a Monty Python and the Holy Grail reference. Jay, do you have any questions? If not, we're going to go ahead and wrap this stream up. Appreciate all you guys coming out, hanging out for me making that handle. I do still have more to make, and one of these other days, now that I kind of get how all this works, plus the test for this microphone went beautifully, apparently. Like, you guys seem to really like it. That's going to open up a lot more possibilities. Yeah, no problem. No problem. I'm going to be here until I finish my cigar, so. Yeah, so on Saturday, the project that I'm thinking about doing on Saturday is, I mean, I was gonna kind of just do like a Bowie knife, but I mean, like a smaller version of a Bowie knife. But I mean, if you guys want to see something else, just shoot me like or put a comment on once this video goes live. Let me know, and I'll consider whatever people put in there. But if not that, I was also thinking maybe a like a kind of like a woodsman's knife or something. Just kind of like a short blade with like a good edge, but We can do whatever, because the last one we did was a drop point hunter design, and we can kind of do whatever. Walking down your street. Yeah, they do that. Unfortunately, I can't really stop them from doing it, so hopefully you haven't been creeping on people in the street this whole time. Bam, there, now you can't be a creep. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and end the stream then. Thanks everyone for coming. Really appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys in the next video.